Well, as you said, here's the entity speaking. So it's really, really good to be back again and have our listeners online. I think I've spoken to JRP before, but uh, it's I think it's really exciting what we're building here and talking to various groups like the Web3 GG guys. Um, Now, JRP, can you just give us a little bit of an overview again of what Web3 GG is? And what's your core mission? What's your goal as far as Web3 and what you're trying to achieve in the Web3 gaming space?
Yeah, of course. Before I do that, I want to give a quick introduction to kind of who I am and also give an introduction to some of the other things that I'm doing in the space because it ultimately all
Absolutely. Yeah.
kind of goes back to Web3 GG or the Web3 Gaming Group. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Juan Rivera Perez. You can also call me JRP or Juan. It's up to you. I've been in the Web3 gaming space specifically now for about 2.5 years. I started as a junior in college with my own Axie Infinity Guild, which I was focusing that on Latam specifically after seeing the YGG essentially a video of them kind of promoting scholars within the Philippines. And I really wanted to understand how I can give back to this space and also just learn about gaming since it made the most amount of sense. When I saw Bored Ape Yacht Club and a whole bunch of other NFT projects, it just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But when I saw being able to use an asset within a game, that was kind of the end game for me. And so as a junior, I then kind of completed that mission and decided to, as a senior in college, help a guild that was owned by Netmarble FNC raise money from Netmarble. And so what we did was we raised $750,000 from Netmarble, and we ultimately deployed that into a variety of different ecosystems within gaming and also outside of gaming. After a while, when the play to earn movement kind of started to slow down, I ended up joining ReNFT, which is one of the leading rental infrastructure companies in the space, specifically in gaming, as their head of partnerships. As head of partnerships, I had the opportunity to really kind of get connected to all the major brands, infrastructure, service companies, games within the space, and was really an honor to be a part of that team and still really bullish on what they're building. More recently, I left ReNFT to join a new startup called the Rev. At Rev, we're essentially the growth engine for Web3 games and Web3 gaming communities. More than happy to speak about that. And the reason I bring up Rev is because a lot of what GG is currently looking to do is actually going to be focused on proving what it means for Rev to be a growth engine for communities, which I'm tying in very specifically because one, as a founder, obviously want to be able to prove out my product, but two, as a community leader, or as a founder of Web3 Gaming Group, would like to utilize the features that we've been building over at Rev to grow the community. And so ultimately what Web3 GG is quite honestly, I like to think of myself as probably one of the top 5 most networked people in the Web3 gaming space. I have a variety of different contacts, and I have daily people hitting me up wanting to get into the connections that I've made over the last 3 years. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time. And so when I saw continuous founders, kind of investors hitting me up, I decided to make a group on Telegram to allow them all to network with each other. We've been doing that now for about 8 months and have gotten over 1,000 members within the Telegram community, and all focused around networking. And we're actually taking now the next step in our iteration, which will actually enable individuals to network, I think, a little bit more clearly, as within a Telegram, as you can imagine, messages are being sent all the time, and you don't really know where the value is because the value that you're looking for might have been sent in a channel or in a topic channel, 5 months ago, and you just can't simply find it. And so we're moving a lot of our community over to our Discord. And whenever someone, really asks me like, hey, do you know of a consultant? Instead of me having to go in and really understand what they need, I can simply direct them over to the Web3GG forum and have them find out what works best for them. And essentially taking my entire network and placing it into this Discord to provide value for everybody. I think long term, I really see GG as a vehicle for empowering individuals to become more fluent in the Web3 gaming space. As we all know, gaming is on the minds of everybody. Everybody wants to become an expert in the space, but in my opinion, you cannot be an expert in the space without having a very kind of fundamental idea of what gaming is, and also of what Web3 is. I see a lot of people in the Web3 gaming space that talk about gaming that are just in it to make money. I'm kind of far off of that. I would love to make money. I think everybody does, but I'm really in it because I think that there's this piece of technology, when you combine it with gaming, is going to absolutely innovate the way that we build in the future. I actually want to run for president one day. And the reason I say that is because I want to take the thesis of what blockchain is, of what crypto is, and I want to implement it into our everyday society. I think that in itself is actually going to start with gaming. We've seen it already happen. Within free-to-play, we first had the gaming space, I guess, in the play-to-play, right? When you had, Tetris and stuff, I guess you had to pay for the console. And then we moved on to having everything on our mobile phones. A lot of those people that were in pay-to-play, the Segas, I guess at the Activisions at the time, didn't really transfer over to who was actually going to be the leading competitors within the free-to-play market. The same thing is happening in Web3 gaming. And more importantly, the free-to-play market introduced this thing that we all now love and hate, which is microtransactions. We saw this specifically in free-to-play first as a business model. And now we almost see microtransactions in every part of our society. And I think that Web3 gaming is going to introduce a lot of those concepts into our society. And more importantly, how we treat tokens, how we treat NFTs, how we are going to actually utilize this idea of ownership and implement it in a way to build a community out. I'm currently living in Puerto Rico, and there was this one time I was out at a bar, and I realized that the bar kind of area had a really big problem because they wanted to organize, but for some reason they were disorganized because not everybody had a say or understood their power within this, like the say of the actual what was happening in the vicinity. And I thought to myself, like, wow, this is a great opportunity for a DAO-like structure to arise so that they all have an understanding of, hey, we're looking to do this mission. How can we work together to make this mission happen? Again, that's a very long intro, but, obviously happy to run through a lot of the questions that we have. And in general, I want to really dive in deeper with GG and Rev because we need more growth engines in this space that will actually retain users and build community. We just simply don't have it today, and everything is based off of hype, when in reality, we should be basing communities off of actual products. Stunned, I know, right?
Let me take myself off mute. Thank you so much for that, JRP. Very much appreciate it. But just touching on the community side for a minute, how do you actually go about involving your community and engaging them, especially in the decision-making process? You mentioned DAO before. So how do your community members shape your initiative?
Yeah, so this is kind of, again, when I'm introducing Rev. So for those who are looking to join the GG community, I have them mint a badge for a general membership. So I have an understanding of who is this person on chain and are they verified within the community. Outside of this general badge, I also have them mint a specific badge for the profession that they are within the space. So if you are a marketer, I'm going to have you mint the marketing badge. If you're a founder, I'm going to have you mint a founder badge. And these essentially gives you roles, but more importantly, it brings Web3 to the surface. So if there ever is, for example, Magic Link, which provides wallet infrastructure, I would be able to provide them with all of the wallets that I have. And if one day they were able to essentially say like, hey, we're at a conference, and I'm able to say, oh, cool, I have wallets and Twitters of people that, are founders in my community. You should give them 25% off, or you should let them into your event. Here's their wallet. You should, automatically let them in if they have this NFT. Then we're good to go. And those are things that are actively built within the Rev platform that will allow me to give those token-gated access experiences in the future, which is why I'm very excited to essentially use GG as a featured community for what's to happen for, in my opinion, everybody in the future is going to be utilizing token gated badges, not in the way that we see it today, which is like NFT based, but in reality, it's community based. It's tokenizing social interaction. It's not financializing something. Hello?
Again, take myself off mute. So with your products, how do you actually interact? Are you separate from the games themselves, or do you have the ability to integrate into your product into the games themselves?
Right. So obviously from the community standpoint, like we can't really interact with anything else. I mean, we can obviously showcase some things, but specifically with Rev, people can we have an API that people can interact with to drop a badge. For example, I can actually drop a badge within this space. And if anybody were to ever say like, hey, I was there when you talked at X Talks talking about GG, it's like, oh, were you really? And they showed me the badge. It's like, oh yeah, you actually were there. Cool. All of that would be interoperable because it's a on-chain asset, right? So if any game ever were to say,
Yep.
hey, someone from GG, as long as you have a general pass, you're gonna get 5% off this skin, or you're gonna get this skin for free. That's automatically gonna be it's a part of the product. It's a part of what Web3 is.
I think the having the APIs available makes life a lot easier, especially for those games to just interact with that. As you said, to be able to turn around and look up somebody if they've got that NFT showing that they're part, they're an OG or something from way back then. Brilliant. Amongst not just your community but Web3 gaming professionals themselves, right. Have you got any notable success stories of projects that have emerged from those connections that you've got?
Yeah,
and that's really around your networking collaboration with other Web3 professionals.
Yeah, of course. Because the community is so tied to what I do, I think it like brings out a lot of people. And so I guess what I would say is like, personally, what I've done is been able to connect games to blockchain infrastructure to receive grants to continue developing their game is like one of the things that has happened. Within the actual community, I've seen a variety of people partner and collab based off of just simply meeting each other within the Telegram community. And, I really foresee this going to the next level once we introduce the Discord, because not only am I going to give an opportunity to people to share what they're building, but also give them the opportunity to update on what they're doing. And this would be in a verifiable way, right? So if you have a founder pass, it's because I've talked to you and I know that you're a founder and you're verified. Outside of, if you're in a Telegram and you say like, hey, you should support us, it might just be someone random that you don't really know or you don't really trust. And so we're also starting Twitter Spaces to allow for people to connect with each other. And at the same time, we're actually hosting metaverse meetings that act as a networking hub for individuals, because a lot of the times people are on Twitter Spaces, but they can't talk with each other. Like I see here Albita and then let's say Star-Lord, like Star-Lord and Arbita might see some synergies with each other, but you don't know that because they're not actively talking to each other, right? Like they can't do it like quite literally through this Twitter space. And that's one of the things that we're looking to innovate on, is introducing these metaverse meetings that have spatial audio cutoffs so that people can talk to each other all in one area while still having that sense of community.
That's absolutely brilliant. Actually highlights some of the capabilities that we're going to be introducing, and that is really around that social media collaboration. Part of our L1X app is not just obviously hosting and holding your NFTs within your wallet, but also interfacing those games across, and as I said, the social media side. I think there's probably some things there that we should probably talk further about to see where it fits. I think it's got some huge scope. And once you introduce we've got a decentralized identity, those things start coming together as a single place that you can actually collaborate on through various social media sites. So now around talking about the engaging the community still, because I think community is probably one of the most important things that forms part of Web3, being able to collaborate and talk together and engage. How do you ensure those initiatives and the projects that you have working with you. How do they align with the goals and values of Web3 GG and Rev?
Yeah, it's a great question. Sometimes they don't. There's games that I work with that, sometimes, or not necessarily that I work with, that I talk to, that just want to do it. It's seemingly like for a quick flip, right? And I don't blame them. I'm not saying that everyone should go out and just do a quick flip. I think they're following what the trend is. I think the thing that, Rev and also GG is looking to innovate on is, there's trends that we have, and there's other things that we should really be focused on, which is building sustainable businesses. I'm not in it for, I didn't create GG because I'm looking to make a lot of money. Like, I'm doing it because I really want to move the space forward and make meaningful connections to people that can actually get something meaningful out of it. So if you're a Web3 gaming founder that is looking to raise, I'm sorry, but I can't, do BD for you. I just can't do BD for everybody that hits me up every day. But what I can do is that I can talk to a variety of different VCs, and I can push them over to the Discord and say, hey, these are some people that I've talked to. They're legit people. They have the founders pass. You should definitely chat with them if you find their introduction and their updates interesting. Specifically with Rev, we're currently working with some of the, honestly, the biggest games that are out in the market today, helping them build their community out, and more importantly, just helping them understand who their community is, right? Like, you are not able to build a community if you don't know who your core and top supporters are. Because once you know who your core and top supporters are, you start rewarding those individuals, and they start becoming more ingrained in your community, and they feel like they have ownership in your community. And that's exactly what our badges do. So I know that hopefully that answered the question, but in general, I think it's difficult to fully align all the time. But I think utilizing this tech and then approaching the community the way that I've approached it, which has been very giving, aligns very well with what Web3 is really supposed to do.
That's absolutely brilliant. I think they're the sort of initiatives that we look at pushing too, especially around those NFTs, giving people those badges really make a difference. They might not hold a specific value at that point, but they certainly lead to being able to utilise them for all sorts of future capabilities. So now, I'm wondering if you might be able to elaborate a little bit on the opportunities that you can provide for projects, and certainly to pitch towards those Web3 GG investors. What kind of support or resources do you offer to companies that are looking to attract investment? So, how do you help them?
Right. So, like, on a personal level, I help them with just really understanding, honestly, like, what they need to do to get their narrative across, and how to actually build towards something that is meaningful for investors. A lot of the times people build pitch decks for what they think investors are going to like, but I advise them to build pitch decks on what their consumer is actually asking for. And so that's kind of like some advising that I do on the side that ultimately helps people get investment. And I'm more than happy to dive into that right now as well. But in general, for GG, what we do is that because we have this badging system, and we know who is essentially collecting our badges, we give away consulting hours. And so we find the top tier people in Web3 gaming for marketing, for a whitelist, for collab managers, and we essentially give them the opportunity to, specifically the GG members, to get some of these individuals time that normally costs $300 an hour, but they're willing to give us, because of our organization, some of their time to give out to the members, and that's ultimately essentially even increasing their own reputation, right, within the ecosystem. And so that's a small way that we do that. And again, like me personally, I'm kind of like everywhere, so I help out in a variety of different ways. But I really try to push as much as that over to GG, just because I know that it's very important for the space to move forward in this way. Because if it's not me, then I don't really see a lot of other people willing to essentially work for free, which is what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And it's treated me well, and I know it's going to continue to, because, consistently, like I said, I don't want to sound arrogant, but, top 5 networked in the Web3 gaming space this early is in my opinion, what I've been striving for, and I know it's only going to continue.
Yeah, I think that just shows you've got a hell of a lot of drive to succeed, and that's once you've got that drive there, you will be successful. That's for sure. Can you just tell us? Sorry, excuse me for that. How can individual members, so listeners and anybody out there who listens to this after the AMA, to the recording, how can they contribute to the growth and success of the Web3 Gaming Group? And are there any specific roles or initiatives that members can actually actively participate in? So, for example, on your Discord or wherever.
Right. Yeah. What I would say is, do not think about how you can give back to GG. Think about how GG can give back to you. And the reason I say that is because a lot of what we are built off of is building resources that help individuals, like I mentioned, move forward in the space. And, of course, I would love for someone to help me, put on events and, reach out to people. But in reality, GG is meant to work for individuals. Like, they're not meant to work for us. What people can do today is they can join the Telegram community and wait for the Discord to open up for everybody and essentially apply, right? Because if you want to get into a founder position and I don't know who you are, you're going to have to apply, just so I make sure that you aren't trying to scam anybody within the community, essentially. But it's going to be open to all. It's not, I'm not going to say no to anybody as long as you're building a legit project and you're in it for the long run. But yeah, today the Telegram's open. I'm more than happy to we have some resources there already. We have like a membership directory that people fill out that is automatically uploaded. Then I would say that if you want to get networked in the Web3 gaming space and you want to, like, the best space to start is in GG's Telegram community today. And specifically, it's also in the updates and the directory that we've been able to establish because of the members that have filled out their survey, and they're willing to network, right? And so those are the people that you want to connect with, and those that are willing to help and really push your own journey forward.
I think that's brilliant that you're actually taking the focus off yourself back onto the actual community and the members themselves. I think that is excellent. But I'm thinking about touching on the areas around your current focus areas and areas that you see that are trends coming up in the Web3 gaming industry. Are there any particular areas that you see that you're poised to take advantage of?
Yeah, for sure. So for one, people are not. There's so much happening. It would be wrong of me to say that there's only a couple of things happening in the gaming space, and that's why it's difficult for me to decide and tell you just one thing. Some general things is that people are stopping the NFT hype and they're launching sustainable businesses. Like, that's the number one thing, because if you can't sustain a project with a community, with an actual product, then you're not going to be able to actually succeed how you want to succeed, right? And sometimes that scares me to say that, to be honest, because there's a lot of people in the past cycles for NFTs that just dropped NFT projects just to make money. But more and more, we're seeing actually talented builders in the space that are building. That is really, really exciting. Like, just today, I was in a Twitter space with the guy that made Solitaire. Like, the guy that fucking made Solitaire is building in the Web3 gaming space. The guy that made, I think it's called like Wordle or like Word with Friends, also is in the Web3 gaming space. That's Paul with Wildcard. These are individuals that came, and on a daily basis, I meet people that are coming from traditional forms of gaming and understanding that gaming today is stuck. And we need innovative features and innovative technologies to get us to the next step forward in gaming. And they see that within Web3 specifically. And so what I would say is, that's really the biggest trend, is the amount of talented builders that are coming into the space. And then, I can spend hours talking to you about like business models and the way that people are launching NFT projects, the way that they're building the games, the types of ecosystems that are being successful. But in general, I think that we're really pushing towards currently settling in on what is going to be the infrastructure that is going to take us to the next level and allow us to reach a wider audience. Whether, because of the way that Web3 is kind of focused on, we don't necessarily need to reach a wider audience, but it depends on, again, your business model. So, there's a whole bunch of things, and I think people are excited for gaming, and it's part of the reason I wake up with a smile on my face every single day, is because I know that I'm working in a space that is quite literally changing the way that our society is going to be ran in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on the NFT hype there before, and I think you're right. There was one heck of a lot of hype around it. You look at the the monkey side and all that sort of stuff. I really see NFTs as being a tool. As you mentioned before, those badges, and they've got the ability to be able to to be used for utility rather than just a straight image. Of course, we can use them as a way of verifying a single piece of artwork or something, but they've got a hell of a lot more utility, especially around being able to identify and being able to not just identify, but prove the authenticity of a product. I think that's where they'll probably come into their own. But moving on from that, really around touching on some learning and development side at the moment. What do you do in the area? So you spoke before about supporting developers and projects in this space. But what about any ongoing learning and or professional development for members and enabling them to build up their skill sets? Because I think you also mentioned before about if somebody wants to be a founder, and you've got to prove their background, their capability, and what they're bringing to the space. But really around how does somebody reach that point? So learning and development.
Yeah, definitely. I think learning is the utmost thing that I'm wanting to be focused on for the next 6 months, because we're gonna see so many people get burned because they're trying to make money. And a lot of what I like to push is, you should be educating yourself on why Web3 makes sense for gaming and what it means to buy something within a gaming asset, and essentially what you're doing, which we've been, really people have had to deal with this with just NFTs in general. But I think with gaming, we're going to see a really big hype cycle. And honestly, I think we're going to see a big dip after that hype cycle, but not as big as we've seen with NFTs, because again, we have sustainable projects there. What I would say for the members of GG that are looking to learn, we actually just started a couple of Twitter spaces that help us do exactly that. We didn't create these Twitter spaces because we wanted them to be the biggest Twitter spaces in the world. We wanted to just provide value. So on Tuesdays, usually from 2 to 4 EST, we're having Twitter spaces on B2B products. Layer 1 can be one of those, for example, learning about what this product does on a B2B level and how it can be successful within the Web3 gaming space, and also how it benefits Web3 games. On Thursdays, we have conversations with game builders. These game builders usually come on and talk to us about a specific thing. For example, next week, we're going to have a conversation with Genzo Meta, one of the largest kind of games specifically in Japan. And they are going to be speaking on localization and how important localization is for building communities, and communities that are global, and specifically working with one of the tools that they've recently partnered with to bring localization everywhere via AI, which is really, really important for really a lot of different games. So our hope is to be able to create a platform so that those who are building games can learn, and those who are working in the space can also kind of continue to learn more about what's happening, so that they can go back to their jobs and say like, hey, we have a game and we want to go to Asia, but we have no one that can localize our product specifically for Asia. Hey, let's use this product, right? And we're really hoping to honestly monetize off of that, because I think that a community can only be as helpful as long as it's alive, and it can only be alive if it's sustainable.
I think you're so right. It's not just about when you talk about the development, for educating and for builders to learn how to code. There's more to it than just that. It's also around how they market their product and how they build out their own community. All those sort of things that aren't really specific things that can be. You can't get a degree in how to build a community. But moving on from that, in your journey, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered, and how have both you and the community addressed or overcome those? Really, those lessons learned that you want to share with any other Web3 projects.
Yeah, growing like an authentic and burgeoning community is fucking hard. And what I realize is that the thing that you need to focus on is your top supporters, because if you can learn how to really, really, really learn who your top supporters are and reward your top supporters, they become super fans. And every time that you get one super fan, it's almost like if you add on 10 regular fans. And that's been like a really interesting thing for me that I think more and more people will learn, is that if you can learn how to target really specifically your community to find who your super fans are and grow that super fan base, everything else is going to seem like a piece of cake, because those super fans are going to be there for you every single day. And if you're tweeting and they're commenting under every single tweet, your tweets are most likely going to blow up. Your updates are almost likely going to blow up. Like, people are going to start seeing traction because they're like, wow, people are actually interested in this. And so identifying your top supporters is number one, top of mind, which is, again, ultimately what Rev is. Like, Rev helps individuals, games, communities, creators understand who their top supporters are. And that's why I'm so excited for a couple of the recent updates that we've been pushing. And next week I think is going to be a really great week for pushing those up to Tau. And I really think that the next 2 months you're going to see Rev everywhere, like solely for this reason, because community, as we all know, is important. But how much are we actually focusing on collecting data from our community? We're not, and we need to, because without data we cannot grow, we cannot learn, we can't actually improve what we're doing.
I think you're absolutely right. That actually, you just highlighted one of the abilities that we're bringing into the space, and that's really around what we call our space cards, where users can actually create their the decentralized identity and actually take that information and monetize it. So they own the data, they own who it goes to, and making that available to whether it's to a project or to literally anywhere, deciding on what they can do with that information. And that actually helps us. I mean, I'm just looking at the moment, and we've got some of our biggest supporters in here, and some part of the fan club. I'm looking at LMFG, and we've got Crypto Psycho in there, and we've got Albita as well. All those people that are actually fantastic community members from our side. And I know you'll have your own, that they're really they're fantastic people to deal with, to talk to, and help promote. Tell us maybe a little bit more about your long-term vision for the Web3 Gaming Group and Rev. How do you see your offerings and your initiatives evolving over the coming years? And what's your hope to actually growing the Web3 gaming ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I think, for GG specifically, we really want to have a focus on building, obviously digital communities, but I think as we move forward, also building physical communities. And so the reason I say that is because one of the major communities that I've met before with the CEO is, I think it's called like Angel Dev or Angel Con. And so what they do is that they're essentially a group of developers of 150,000 developers globally, essentially helping each other develop really great products. And that's really what I hope GG becomes in the future, is this community, this group of individuals who comes together to build great products individually. And the way that we're able to monetize off of that is sponsorships, because there's so many people looking to acquire the users from the B2B side. We see it every single day with gamers, right? You see a gamer community here, gamer community there, but you don't see a lot of communities, honestly, outside of like Wolves DAO, which is a great community to be in as I'm a member, really focused in on the professionals within the space. And so, I really want to take that to the masses as, Wolves DAO is only allowed to have about like 300 people into the ecosystem, which makes a lot of sense for the community that they're building. But we really want to be a lot more forward thinking and allow anybody who wants to essentially be a professional in the space, really kind of utilize GG as a way to get there. And if you're interested in that, more than happy to send you an invite to the Telegram group. You can look us up at Web3 Gaming Group on Twitter, and we have the Telegram link already kind of linked there. And then in terms of Rev, which I'm really excited for, right? Like, I would say that GG is like my passion project, and Rev is really my way of innovating. We see a world where we can create a social graph with essentially what we're doing already is tokenizing social interaction. And so if we are able to understand from a top of funnel marketing kind of perspective, let's just say that, Carolina is JRP's number one fan, but she's also this other person's number one fan. Is there a connection there? Can we also relate that to a game that is looking to acquire a user that is, some data that we're able to collect from them? We're really looking at creating this almost search engine of creators, of communities, to enable brands to be able to look through them. Because if I can drop a badge in a Twitter space, let's say right now, and the average person that collects my badge for the XTalk Twitter spaces have, let's just say, like $10,000 into their wallet, I can start creating relationships and sponsorships off of that because they know that I have influence there. And that's really what we've seen a really major rise in the general Web2 and Web3 gaming, or Web2 and Web3 content creator market, is the rise of influencer marketing. I mean, we all see it. We all know what it is, but for some reason, we don't really talk about it. And in reality, it's suffering. The only people that really get paid in influencer marketing, which now is about 40 to 60% of everyone's ad spend, is the top 1%. And for me, that makes, that's total bullshit, because there's so many other creators that have so much passion for the communities that they're building. And the only reason they're not getting paid is because they don't have a good understanding of who that community is. More importantly, the brands don't have an understanding of what that micro influencers community looks like. And so we really want to be able to empower those people, while at the same time creating tooling for really the creator economy. But as I mentioned before, we really are focused on the tagline of being the growth engine of Web3 gaming community specifically. And I think we'll slowly get there, but it's going to take a good amount of time.
Absolutely brilliant. I think what you're talking about there, about building that almost like the global view and seeing who's linked across to whom. You get sites like LinkedIn trying to do that, but sometimes you actually need that in a little bit more visual model. We're actually developing a product to enable that, where you can actually start seeing really a global view of all those connections. And if you think of the concept around being visual of all those connected dots with the lines that interact across, and you can actually start seeing and delving a little bit more into it visually, but then from a marketing point of view, to be able to promote across, to take that information on a much larger scale and make it available to advertisers and to other projects. And that's something that can be monetized for the user to actually earn from that, rather than those big corporations. I think that's got a huge scope for the future, rather than just passing all that information and the data back to those big corporates, owning it yourself and making it available. The users actually permissioning that data to be made available for marketing, where they want to see specific types of ads. I think there's a lot of scope there for that. Do you see that as something that would be usable across your space? I'm not sure what happened. I think it's gone a bit silent. I'm not sure if anybody can hear, or but I'm hearing nothing. I think we've lost Juan. I thought I'd give him a minute or so, but appears he may have dropped off. Joe, I don't know if you can. Could you hear anything, or was it just me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I think we just lost Juan. He might come back again in a minute. Let's give it a little bit. But look, certainly it's a it's been a very interesting set of X talks that we've been doing, and sometimes we want to delve into the individual projects. I know one was on recently. Oh, here he is back again. But it's really good to be able to dig into much deeper the capabilities that that the Web3 Gaming Group and Rev have. Juan, are you back online? I think you're on mute.
And now I'm at my friend's apartment, stealing their Wi-Fi. I apologize for everybody, and I appreciate everybody staying as well. Really, really great.
No problem. Go for it. So yeah, I was actually talking a little bit about the. So you were going through some of the vision and long-term view for Web3, and I don't know if you caught it, but I was speaking about one of the capabilities that we're developing is around a global view. So literally providing that for end users to be able to own their data and make it available for specific uses, or for specific views, even for advertising or anything else. And also from a personal view, if they want to see their connection. So if we've got a couple of people, you mentioned before, some users, them being able to connect with one another and see their links, and say hi and talk and collaborate, whether it's on a project or even on a personal level. But having that global view, more than the likes of LinkedIn, where you can just see how far away you are connected from people, to see that in a visual view, but then to monetize that data and make it available for corporates, so that currently all your data is monetized by the big corporates like the Googles and everybody else around the world. And that's not a good thing, that they own all of that data. They're making a lot of money out of us every year. Our objective is to put that back into the hands of users. Is that something that's the Web3 Gaming Group could are looking? You mentioned before that you're seeing what you can do in that space, but I think there's a collaboration effort there that we could do.
Yeah, honestly, like Rev's not really focused on that right now because it's just too early. I think that right now what we're focused on is getting as many people to drop as many badges as possible, and just getting that the lower level of that kind of finished, right? And I think that's what we're trying to prove out. I don't think it's something that's proven. I think it's definitely something in the future, and I think once we figure it out, for sure, there's going to be some form of collaboration there, especially if you have an ability for us to be able to kind of seamlessly do that, right, outside of what we're currently building as well, and even for GG, right? Like we would want to have that be the case for our members to know, where other people are at, etc. I personally think that the person that is going to probably do it, honestly, better than maybe even both of us is Farcaster. If you haven't checked out Farcaster, they recently dropped Frames. Frames are interactive experiences within content. Like you can mint things within a cast or the tweet for them. You can play Doom within a cast or a tweet. Like you can do anything, not everything, but you can do a lot of things within a tweet so that you don't have to be leaving the actual site, which is a really interesting concept. And they themselves have a lot of information already, data that they're collecting on chain that I'm sure that they can create, that exactly what you're mentioning. And I think a lot of people have talked about creating that thing. And at the end of the day, what I like to see is like, show me the numbers, show me how many people you have on your platform. Show me, what are other people doing already? And, are you seeing traction with that? A big one was like Lens, right? Lens was trying to do that same exact thing, but I don't see them anywhere anymore. Farcaster, I think, is going to be one that proves to be, really important. And if you're not on Farcaster, I would highly recommend that you join to check it out. It's currently free for anybody in Northern America, and in the future, it's actually going to be a monthly fee or an annually fee to join. And like I said, even with Rev, we're maybe 4-5 years away from that. And we want to get there. Everybody wants to get there. And at the end of the day, there's not going to be just one winner. It's going to be everyone on layer one, everybody on, Rev, everybody on Farcaster, and everybody's going to have a piece of it instead of, just one individual.
Yeah, and I think for us that's key. Ultimately, being a layer one, it's more about the infrastructure layer, about how we're uniting all those blockchains and the projects together to enable them to transact cross chain, to be able to move NFTs between different chains as well, and that. I know there's, you could look at it and say, oh yes, you can move your NFT from one game to another, but it's if those NFTs are compatible, whether it's a skin or something else like that. I think there's potential there. How huge it is, time will tell. But I think the collaboration, it's not just on any one area. It's got to be across how we're bringing those products together, and that could be around the also the social media side as well.
For sure.
And I think that's probably key. Everybody's got all sorts of social media accounts, and different IDs, and how do you verify somebody that's on Twitter across to LinkedIn, across to Facebook, any of those major products out there.
Right. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, brilliant. JP or Juan, thank you so much for your insights today. It's been really, really good. I think we'll look at talking a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely appreciate it.
It's been excellent having you.
Appreciate it. And anybody, feel free to hit me up specifically when it comes to gaming. And again, if you're looking to get more into the network of Web3 Gaming, feel free to join the Web3 Gaming group. And you can definitely find individuals there that are in a very similar position. And ideally, you get into the Discord where you're able to really meet those builders and shakers of the space, specifically in Web3 Gaming. And today it's going to be Web3 Gaming. Tomorrow it's going to be Web3 really global. So very excited for it, and appreciate you having me on.
It's a pleasure. All right. Take care, one.
There you go.
Bye-bye.